Hello and welcome to the Now page update for February 2026. Sorry, this is loud. I finally realized how I can change the volume gain on here because there's no gain knob like my last microphone had, and I've been dealing with low audio level videos for a hot minute, and so it's been frustrating. I might need to tweak it a little bit more. I decided to do the video first today instead of the blog post because I was trying to formulate what I wanted to put in the post. And I've been doing a lot. There's a lot of updates. There's a lot of things that happened in the last month. And so I wanted to kind of just get it off my chest, and I'll try to make it more concise in a post. Again, every month I always go through this dynamic. Do I want to make the post first or the video first? And I end up making the one that feels the most natural to me at that point, and then the other version becomes the more concise version. So it's always really funny how they kind of flip-flop. So one cool a little addition, this is just something me tweaking around, just throwing this out there because I haven't put it anywhere else, is that on my theme, on my website, you can actually make video posts. And I found a way to do video posts with my Now pages, for example. And the problem is there's two things you can do. You can label them as a video. So if you do a backend hashtag, it'll put a little video icon next to it, which is pretty cool. But the video icon's kind of small and doesn't really change much. It's just kind of a visual representation. And then there's another hashtag you can do that makes it actually turn into a video on the main page. The problem is it doesn't actually pull the thumbnail. So I might have to talk to the theme developer or something like that, because the thumbnail is what's really important to know which video is which. Otherwise, they all look the same. And so what's kind of the point? And so it's kind of that doesn't really quite work on its own. But it's kind of cool to see the little moving video going on the homepage. And then I also have been getting into vibe coding. And people have been telling me for a year now at least to get into vibe coding, but I just really wasn't ready for it yet. And I think that when I tried doing it in the past, like with Claude or something like that, it wasn't very impressive. And so I just did it for a quick stint and then didn't really do much. However, I was really interested in the idea of making my own Obsidian plugin, actually a couple different ones. And so I kind of just threw it to the wall, see what would stick. And one of them ended up being kind of too grandiose for an Obsidian plugin, so I kind of moved it just to its own separate app. And then the other Obsidian plugin was literally just making extra side panels. I was always frustrated that I couldn't have a secondary set of panels within Obsidian, so because I have an ultra wide screen, I have the space for it, but I have all these different plugins like the calendar and maybe a day planner and stuff like that I wanted to view all at once. I wanted all that data at once. And yet I couldn't really do that. If you just pulled it out, it became a tab, a page, and then they wouldn't necessarily stay permanent. And that's what I wanted. It was something that will stick around, or at the very least, would stick around until I hid it away. And so I was messing around with that. And again, these plugins really didn't quite work, and I still need to sit down and do some actual editing of it and tweaking, stuff like that. But the minimal viable product was really interesting. It came up with a pretty interesting idea. And then I realized I really been wanting to edit my website more. So I mentioned those video posts that are built into the site. But what if I could imbue my YouTube channels? And more importantly, what if I could imbue them all into one feed? Because, I'm making 1 to 3 videos a week per channel. So it's not like I'm making that much. I'm not making them daily. And so if I had just one feed, and I'm only really making them on 2 channels, the other 2 channels that I wanted to put on there would be kind of more infrequent, but I still wanted to have them in that feed. And so I also have the podcast too, and then maybe even products. So how do I put them into the main page without doing some crazy stuff on my own end? And so I started vibe coding it, just tossed the theme into anti-gravity, and started just figuring out what can I do. So my point is, I've been messing around with that. I even made a post today before this about what am I learning right now. So go check that out. It's pretty cool. But essentially, I was just going into, here's all the videos that I'm watching and that I'm consuming. So go check it out yourself. And then the idea behind what I'm trying to do right now with the content, I've been a little bit behind. So because of the things that are going on in the world, I've been very distracted. And then on top of that, too, just stressed about income, as always. And because of that, I have been less productive than I like. The first week of January, I was really doing well. And then because of some external pressures, I ended up kind of just faltering the second week. However, I had scheduled enough posts ahead of time that I ended up actually being able to kind of get away a few days where I already had a post scheduled, at least something went out. However, because of that, I ended up being a little bit complacent and I actually missed a day. On the first month of the year, I was trying to do this content blitz that will schedule me at least half the year ahead. Still have not done that. And then on top, I've planned it, but I haven't actually executed on the different sprints. It's still part of Q1. That's all that matters. The Q1 is when I'm doing the blitz, not January, but Q1. And so Q1 had 2 projects, the blitz and making the PIOS vault a purchasable download. And I'm most of the way done with that. And I actually have a tool that I can use to embed into Ghost to make a product page in like e-commerce and all that. Xdev or xvoid.dev if you want to check it out. And then I also am getting pretty motivated to do that blitz. And so especially since now that the external pressures have kind of alleviated a little bit, part of it had to do with just like being engrossed in the whole things that are going on in Iran, and then the whole stuff that happened in the US with ICE. There's a lot of stuff that is just causing a lot of stress. And I have a lot of people who I care about. And so it's just one of those things where like when I kept seeing all that news, it just really started stressing me out and really taking away my energy. And this time of year with winter, it's already bad enough. Excuses, but they're valid. And so having that external stress on top of my own internal pushing myself to do too much in a time of year when my energy is the lowest, it's just really hard to kind of get that done. But today I have 4 different ideas for content that I want to make, including one I think that I just added today because I just randomly came up with it. And that's a lot of posts to be making in one day, one of which is this now page post, which will be a video and blog post. And then I had the blog post I just made before this. And then I have my current tech stack post that I'm supposed to make every quarter. I was supposed to make it like yesterday or day before yesterday, but I ended up procrastinating. And the reason why I'm making so much today and in the next week or so is I'm trying to make up for the 2 weeks that I was kind of slacking off. And because the thing is, for January especially, but even a little bit into February, I basically doubled up a lot of the days, if not tripled up a few days. And then when you skip a week of doing that, you have like now double the amount of posts that are on the backlog. And I want to try to just burn through them real quick, even if it's a lot of posts in one day, because I don't need to be scheduling these out. I just want to get them out. So some of them were just like remakes of those Substack stuff, or some of them were simple posts that needed to be kind of just made before some other ones as a precursor. And so they just need to be done. It's not really about scheduling these out. It's just about getting them out. And then from there on, it's about getting the important ones scheduled and outlined and stuff like that. So there's some really cool stuff. I'm already planned out the entire year. I think the last time I had made this now page, there was a bit of a like, I don't know how I'm going to plan out the whole year. Like I'm trying to figure out which post to fill in, and I was still kind of doing it. Now the whole year's planned every day, and that's super awesome. I even have some posts planned for January 2027. Like I'm already ahead that far. And this is like, okay, planning is not the same as execution. I know that. That's why I'm trying to work on the blitz. The blitz is not because I'm trying to be overzealous. The blitz is because I'm trying to get at least half the year scheduled. And that's because there's multiple different sprints and series that I can do in quick succession if I just have enough energy in one day to do a sprint. Because like, I can make 12 posts in one day. It's not a big deal. And that's like 12 posts once a month the whole year. There's 3 of those. Actually, there's travel, swimming, and gaming. And then there is, because those basically have like 10 to 12 posts for the whole year. That's not much, but I'll make more if I feel like it. And then the poly tool stuff, there's a lot of like actual tools that I want to make post about, and there's also a lot of posts that are just related to tools in general. And then there's the Content Polymath one, again, same newsletter, just different like premise. Content Polymath one, that one I can't really make ahead of time. However, there are a few posts that I've already recorded that I need to make the blog post version that I can just schedule them out. And so that's a lot of stuff. And so I'm talking fast. I'm excited. There's a lot of really cool things happening. I've also dramatically changed my Obsidian vault. So I'm not going to share my screen here today just because there's a lot of stuff that I need to get around to doing, and I don't want to share like, registered agents, pitching, stuff like that. So the idea behind the vault, the yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily, that has always been the main premise, but there's a lot of really cool aspects behind that I refined in the new PIOS template vault that I'm selling. And now I need to actually take those new changes and put them onto my vault. But that will break some of the automations because of the folder structures. But I'll get around to it at some point, probably in the next few days. And that's super cool though, that like I was able to kind of refine even my own system, let alone provide it for other people. This is like an all-in-one system. It's not actually just like a template or just like a whole collection of folders. That's what it was before. The minimum viable product was just like a bunch of folders, a few different notes explaining the folders. Now I've actually put in the plugins and I've edited the plugins to make them work. I've added different bases and I have a whole bunch of linked posts. Now pretty much every note within the vault is also connected, so you can actually see what the graph view is supposed to look like. So when you download the vault, it's a fully functioning vault. And then you can add your own stuff to it. And then on top of that too, I think a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of different data sources that you can have for knowledge management. And that's actually another post I should make too. Super cool idea where essentially you can start pulling from your own stuff. So I had a lot of data in Notion and capacities that I needed to move into Obsidian. Cool. one of my motivations was also like making a books library database, because I have a lot of books that I bought on Kindle, even some on Google Playbooks, and then a whole bunch on my Kindle wish list or my Amazon wish list. And one day there was a couple of books missing, and I'm like, that's weird. I have no idea what those books were now, so now I can't look them up again. And then on top of that, Kindle basically removed the ability to download books onto your phone and random devices if they aren't Kindle devices. And I'm like, that's sketch. I don't like that. Screw you guys. Let me download books. Back in the day, you used to be able to download a copy of the books to put it on an offline device. Now you can't do that. And so like, if you went into the website, deep into the settings, you could find an option to download it. And it was grayed out. You couldn't actually download them. So I had paid for these books, and now I can't access them. So now I found ways of getting those same books. I already supported the authors, and I'll support them again if I need to. But I downloaded my books that I found that I was already paid for. So I don't want to like not have access to my books. And then on top of that, I use the book search plugin to make a list of all the books in my Amazon wish list. So that way, if I ever need to access my list again, they're locally on my computer. I don't have to reference a cloud-based system that can take them off at any point in time. I did the same thing, or I'm doing the same thing for my gaming backlog. So I went through my Steam API and managed to see my library and just copy the names over into the game search plugin. And now I have a gaming folder. I'm doing the same thing for movies. And then on top of that, I went through all my emails and found different email chains that were important and copied those, because those have been just like sitting there for a decade. Now I can actually access them. And I saw stuff from my late mentor, my late grandmother. That's super cool. And so now I have all that data, and then there's other sources as well, and just being able to save articles and just a whole bunch of different ways of bringing information into your vault. And that's one thing I'm going to be talking more and more about on this channel, because I'm super excited about it. And I think maybe I should make a post about like different data sources for your PKM vault. After that, I am looking at different jobs, stuff like that. I have a night job now where I'm doing the karaoke now full time, just on Wednesdays. I mean, it's full time as in like full time at that one bar, and that's super cool. I was doing it basically 50% of the time before, anyways. And my friend who was running it before had moved, and so I took over. That seems to be doing pretty well. I'm excited about that. It's fun to do it each week. It's something I can look forward to, and it's a nice job. I need more income than that, but for now, I guess I can focus on my own digital products, and that might be good. And so there's a lot of different changes that are happening in the professional side of things. I think personal, I've still been struggling in this time of year, but luckily I have someone around the world that I'm talking to that makes my life easier and better, and it makes me more motivated to push forward. And I think that like with more of these projects getting completed and more of these projects really kind of pulling me forward, motivating me, I think it's going to help a lot in the near future. Other than that, I don't have anything else to mention, but I'm glad you're here. Thank you for watching, and go check out the blog post because it's probably going to be more concise, hopefully.